today we are going to be looking at sketching in nature. In particular today we're going to have a look at drawing trees. When I'm filming this it's winter and it's a really good time to draw trees because lots of them have lost their leaves, and so you get to see all their brilliant kind of branches, you get to see the shape of them. So we'll have a go at that today. So here's what you're going to need. First of all, just a pencil or two, a rubber. If you have some charcoal, that can be really nice to work with. This is my charcoal here, just a few small little bits. So if you've got some of that, that'd be great. Makes a really nice kind of smudgy, soft mark. If you have some coloured pencils, you might want to use those, but they're not an essential. And then we'll want some paper. So our first drawings, we're going to actually be going out and about to do some drawings, so something quite small is quite handy. I'm going to be using my sketchbook, which is already full of lots of different things, so I'm going to take that out with me. And then because we are heading out and about, and it's currently, where I am, 2 degrees, you want to wrap up warm. Now you don't need to go far to find something really interesting to draw in nature. I'm going to be going up beyond my house just a short way. If you head out into a park, there's some beautiful trees there, but even on pavements and along roads there are some amazing trees that you can find. So let's go and see what we can see. I think I found the tree I'm going to draw. I like this one because it's got this one single trunk and then it splits into these two. And they've got an amazing kind of shape to them. So I'm going to make myself comfy and do a little bit of sketching. So when I do these sketches outside, I'm really just trying to get an overall impression of the tree. I'm not doing any kind of great detailed work. But sometimes just by drawing it, quick sketches, it also helps me remember it really well. So I'm just gonna, so it probably looks like I'm just creating a series of lines here. I'm just trying to get a sense of the overall shape of the tree, the fact that it's got this nice kind of wide base and then splits into these two up here. And then you get these fantastic branches coming off at an angle. And I'll show you when I'm going to go back to my desk a little later in the video, and I'll show you how I start to kind of refine this drawing and make it start to look a little bit more kind of three-dimensional, and how I start to kind of put some shadow in there as well. So that will all start to appear. So here's how I'm getting on. You can see they're just very quick sketches. In the summer I'd be able to sit out here for hours and draw, but because it's so cold, at some point my fingers are going to start going numb. So I'm just getting the rough basics in there, and then I'll do my extra work when I'm back at home in the warm. But I've just started to notice that there's some incredible sort of texture on the bark of the tree, and I'm just making a few little sketches in my book that kind of show that. So even just making some little kind of circular marks to show that. And what I'm going to do next is take a couple of photos of the tree. You don't have to do this, I just find it quite useful to remember, but it's really fantastic if you can do it from memory as well. So I'll just take a couple of photos, and then I think before too long I'm going to head back and start my next steps in the drawing. So I'm back home now, and what I want to do is to take one of these drawings and use it as inspiration, and I'm going to do a bigger drawing on this bit of paper here. So I'm just going to put this to one side. I've also got one of the photos that I took. I'm having a little look at that as I draw as well. But like I said, if you are just working from what you can remember, then that's also a really good thing to be able to do. So to begin with, I'm taking the stick of charcoal that I've got, and I'm going to just put in the very rough shape of the tree. Now the reason I'm using charcoal is it means that I can get a really swift impression of the tree onto the paper. Because when we were looking at those branches, particularly at the bottom, you know, they're very wide, they're not kind of small and delicate. So I want to get that onto the paper. You can see I'm using it on its edge so that I get a nice kind of thick line with it. Now if you don't have charcoal, that's absolutely fine. What you can use then is a pencil, but instead of using it on its point like you were writing with it, you can use it again on its side, and that means you get a nice kind of wide mark with it. It can work really nicely. I'll probably use a pencil for some of this as well. So I'm just going to carry on with that. Now I've gone in quite dark with my charcoal here, and that looks really nice for the shape. But if you can remember, when I was looking at that tree, there was quite a lot of sunlight hitting it. So I'm going to lighten up the areas that would be hit by the sun. So the sun is kind of streaming in and it hits the tree here and it lightens it up. And I like using charcoal because it's really easy to kind of lighten it up just with a rubber. But you can do the same effect with pencil as well. You just have to press a bit harder on the rubber. And once you start to lighten up some areas, all of a sudden things start to look much more kind of three-dimensional. If you want to learn a little bit more about shading as well, I've done another video for the Art Club YouTube channel which looks just at shading. That might help you a little bit as well. So these tops of the branches, where the sun is hitting them, again, I'll lighten those up. I was lucky to get a bit of sunshine out there today. Something I also want to kind of get across in this picture is that sense of the roundness of the trunk, that it isn't flat, it's really kind of round. And something that can really help you with that is when you're kind of laying on your marks, you can kind of curve them round. So look at how I'm kind of laying the charcoal on here now, and I'm making these kind of arcs with it. So I'm kind of describing the shape of the tree using my marks there. And when I'm working on top of these very light areas, I'm just doing that very gently. Otherwise my tree might start to look a little bit too stripy. But just some gentle kind of curved lines just start to make your tree look like it's curved around. And now I want to start to put in some of the kind of finer branches. We looked at the tree and how at the end of the branches they branch out, and then you get these smaller kind of twigs which kind of crisscross the sky and they make these beautiful shapes. So I'm just going to start to put in some of these finer branches and twigs. So to do that, I'm having to just tip my charcoal onto its point, so I'm using it a little bit more like a pencil, like you'd use a pencil for writing. And I'm just very delicately drawing in those twigs. And the twigs that I'm drawing, they all have a kind of interesting kind of, they're not completely straight. They tend to kind of curve around, or they kind of branch off in different directions. So see if you can get some of that across in your picture. Now, if you remember when I was looking at the bark of the tree, I noticed how it had these almost kind of little oval shapes all over it. And I actually think it's some sort of lichen in parts where it's kind of creating this beautiful kind of pattern on the tree. So I'm just going to use my charcoal and just put in a little bit of that detail. I can also, because some of the areas were kind of light areas, so I could use the edge of my rubber to pull out little kind of dots of light as well. So we're getting into the kind of fine detail here. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of context. So this tree had a little kind of patch of dark earth around it, and then a few kind of straggly bits of grass were kind of growing up around here. It was also a very snowy day when I was out there, so the ground was covered in snow, and then with other little patches of grass showing through where the snow had begun to melt. So it's just nice to put in a little, it can be very kind of subtle. I'm just going to put in some of these grasses that are in the background. So the only thing I haven't used so far is my coloured pencils. I said at the beginning that you might want to use these. And sometimes it's just nice, like in the areas maybe where the light is hitting the side or the upper half of these branches. Sometimes I like to just use a coloured pencil to just emphasise that a little bit. It's not entirely necessary, and actually as I'm trying this out, I think I might leave mine pretty much black and white. I'm quite enjoying it black and white, so you can see how you feel about yours. So here's the finished result. You can see how we started with these really quick sketches and then just taking a bit more time to get this really nice kind of effect for this tree. So I hope you enjoy trying out these different techniques. I'd love to see how you get along, so make sure you share those pictures with Art Club. Take a look at the other videos as well on the Art Club YouTube channel, and make sure you subscribe because there's always lots of interesting stuff going on there. Thanks very much for joining us today, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye!